about like when reconciliation, like, I mean, right now we just talk about reconciliation with like as a concept that could happen one day. We don't not really think about what it could be, but like if you really got to reconciliation, then you'd have indigenous people living on their land, governing themselves, making decisions, being involved in decisions that affect other parts of the country and stuff. And like, I just hope that I'm alive to see what that looks like. Like, it could be so good for our country.
So far, like what it looks like is we'll pretend that's what we're doing until we want to build a pipeline, and then you disagree, and then we'll have a big standoff because it never fucking meant shit in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it looks like right now.
Do you really think that you're gonna be like alive, that's gonna happen in your lifetime?
I don't know.
She hopes.
I think that as the climate crisis gets worse, like, who knows what's going to happen. I think about that a lot, and I just don't know what kind of desperate things people will do. Like, I read up on these, like, sometimes I like to read on what some of the solutions might be, and there's this one kind of scary one where they basically, I'm just going to put it in a nutshell, you block out part of the atmosphere so that not as much sun gets to Earth, and then it cools down the Earth. And they estimate it's not going to cost very much, like, I don't know, $10 billion a year. So, so somebody is probably banking on that. Some country, if a country decides to do it, we're all in it. We're all living on the Earth. And I just kind of feel like that is people who don't want to face the climate crisis or change anything right now. They're like, well, we've already got that in our back pocket. I feel like that might happen one day. Like, that's my fear. And I hope that instead we can all learn how to change and think about kind of living 7 generations down the road. But I don't know, like maybe things will get so bad that the only people who are going to do okay are the people who are still have regained and are practicing their indigenous knowledge, and the rest of us are poor schlums or schlubs are going to be doing whatever, begging at their door. I don't know. I just don't know. Like, and because planet is heating up so fast and nobody's stopping, it's just accelerating, and everything is just making it worse. Like the permafrost, they're like, oh, that's accelerating things faster than we thought it was, or whatever. I just think it could happen in my lifetime. The way things are accelerating, I think things.
Well, yeah, like it's like it could get so bad that the settler society will actually listen to the indigenous people and actually work together, right? Like how crazy that, yeah. Like it'll be so bad that they actually follow through with what they said they were going to do, however many hundreds of years ago.
Or who knows? I don't know. Who knows? I know it's bleak. I'm sorry.
It is bleak. No, but it's like that's
life,
it needs to be about them. Because people don't want to, and like that's everybody's kind of strategy, and like you can't do it anymore because it's becoming more of a crisis, obviously, the longer that we pretend it isn't. So,
and like I'm guilty too. Like we own 2 cars in this house,
right?
And I could bike to the grocery store every time, and I do sometimes, and a lot of the time I take my car, and I could, but I just, because of the time and the kids, I just don't. And so I'm apathetic about it too. So.
Book interrupted.
Hello everyone, this is my interruption, and this is my interruption for the last 2 months. The shop is complete. This is the entrance. That's the cool wallpaper. That's the cool chair. That's the cool girl. Here we go. Here's the waiting area. And that's the most beautiful teak unit ever made. And that's my station. And I love it. And here we go. Walk this way, walk this way. This is the beauty, the magic of mid-century. That's my screen, and using my ring light for this now too. Double purpose, as it turns out. And here we go down the hall. This is what the room looks like at night. Super sexy. And then this is the room I'm going to rent out to another artist or hair person soon, hopefully. Just kind of does this now. And there she is, and she does this with her leg. Woo! Anyways, that's the tour, and see you guys on Sunday. Bye!
Book interrupted.
I was just thinking how you said then the settlers will come to the indigenous people, like begging them for help. And it makes me think how her second husband was said at one of those conferences, we should have just killed them when they came. We should have just killed them. So part of me thinks like, well, hopefully they have learned that when that happens and we're at their doors asking for help, they're like, you're on your own. Out. We learned you're on your own. We're not helping you because when it comes to helping us back, you're nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Like that's history.
Yeah. That's history over and over and over. Even in her book, remember there was a guy that near her family's home that was struggling and everyone in the community helped him, and then his ranch took off and then he wouldn't even acknowledge anyone in the community anymore.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So would you recommend the book time? Is it appropriate to would you recommend the book time?
Yeah, we could recommend the book now.
Well,
I
I do.
recommend the book.
Me too.
Together. I've already recommended the book. I don't know. I think it's, yeah. I don't know if it's the last one you should read though. Like Sarah was saying, there's lots out there. So
yeah, that's a good point. Like I recommend this book and many, many more books about, the truth, whatever.
Yes. But if you're not really
aspect of
sure what's like happened in residential schools or what it's all about, and some of the things you want to know, some of the things that happened, like this is a good place to start, I think.
Even also children's books, actually. You know what I mean? Like if you're really like, oh my God, I'm not sure I can handle, like that's the thing, is that everybody's so delicate, which is not appropriate because people actually handled the actual truth. Like they actually, and many people didn't, right? Many people didn't even survive it. The least you can do is read it, vicarious trauma be damned or whatever, right? Like, but anyways, you could read it in a children's book and it's probably a softer serving because it's for children, but you should know the truth.
Yeah.
I recommend it, although I've only read half of it.
But so far, so good.
But so far, just think it's an important information, an important story, just like you were both saying. Talking about teaching this in schools and having kids learn this and read this in schools, I think that would be very important for all of us. So yes, I recommend. Sarah?
I recommend the book too. Yeah. I think it's a great, like I said, a starter book because it's easier to digest the information that she's put in it. It's because of the tone of her book, because it's matter of fact. But I think, continue learning after that and telling people and suggesting books for them to read, because the more of us that know, the better.
I also think it's important, and maybe we've been negligent a little bit in this conversation, to note all the accomplishments that she had too. Like she's not just, I went to residential school, I'm the token for someone who's been there. I think like she was chief. I believe she completed university, potentially a PhD. I can't remember, obviously, because it's me, but like the end of this book, like it's not all about just residential school and how terrible that was. It's about her journey and her healing, and it's a good story to show just the evolution of a human who went from the shits of the shit and was able to come out the other side. And with the help of self-help books, Lindsay.
Yes.
She gives a lot of credit to self-help books. She very much enjoys that.
No, I haven't got to that
I mentioned
part.
that.
I don't recommend. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm joking.
I mentioned that. I rented that in my personal journal, her self-help book that she discovered. She got it for 25 cents. It was like something of positive thinking or something.
Power of
I'm just
the
looking
power
at the back of positive thinking. Yeah.
I'm looking at the back of the book that she earned a degree in history from University of Victoria and a law degree from the University of British Columbia. She was employed by the UBC Law School, articled at a Vancouver law firm. decided a law career wasn't for her, and returned to Soda Creek, where she is still the chief, or was the chief. I don't know if she still is.
She was, chief. And then she wasn't, and then she was again, I thought.
I didn't know if she went back to being the chief. Yeah. Did she? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she's employed by the BC Treaty Commission as a treaty process community information advisor. She's the first elected chief of the Soda Creek Band in 1987. Spoken out on behalf of her community on racism in residential schools and on the environmental and social threats of mineral resource exploitation in her region.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The second half of the book kind of talks about the challenges, and like she wanted to be a nurse, and then the guidance counselor didn't help her at all. She's like, and then when she went through high school and she was going to go, and they're like, but you're in the wrong stream. You're in the, I can't
and nobody told her.
Not the academic one, the
technical,
or
maybe
one was more for hands-on
stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, they put her in the wrong stream, so she was working hard to be a nurse, and then they basically like, because somebody was not helping her and not doing their job, they basically just like dashed her dreams that she had for many years, and she overcame that. It was just like the last half of the book kind of talks about even though the residential schools have been closed, the challenges are still there, and so it's all upward battle, like over and over and over, and that's what needs to change now. Like, they close the schools, okay, now everything else.
Right? Everything else.
So
yeah, because like closing the building, it's surface.
Yeah, it's surface.
Yeah, so I guess that's the other thing about this book. We talked a lot about residential schools, but it does talk a lot about kind of, it's a good overview, kind of the before and the after.
Yeah, and the challenges that she had to overcome to get to where she is, which is incredibly successful today, and a really strong leader. And I don't know if I can go so far as to say like a healed person, but like definitely on a healing journey where she's like doing it to herself too, like healing herself.
Mm-hmm. And the perception she had of herself, and then like I like the part where she had an IQ test, and she's like, and I know IQ tests aren't the end all and be all, but she's got a really high IQ, and she was told basically her whole life that she was not smart, right? And then all of a sudden she's like, but wait a minute, like I am.
Turns out I'm really smart.
And more than most of the people in the room. Like, so
brutal. Like
all
what
these realizations
kind of emotional abuse can do to someone, right?
Especially like for us, we grew up at a time where it was all very like, self-esteem is so important, and they're trying to drill your self-esteem into kids. As we grew up, that's what we grew up on, is like, you can do anything just because you're, like you can be an astronaut or an engineer or whatever. I don't know. They really focused on like the male focused jobs to girls, saying like you can do it all. And then realizing that was just for us. There's, other kids that were getting the opposite message.
Yeah. And not even maybe necessarily always actively. Right? Like not everyone was bad and telling them you guys all suck. Some people just were internalized the racism around them and just expected less because of who they thought they were. Mm-hmm. And like, that's another example of
the unconscious bias.
Yes. And an invisible barrier, right? Mm-hmm. That, and the people who are of the majority can't see unless they're looking or learning,
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.